Yeah, phone and emails. Yeah, those used to be the death of me. That's how I used to start my day. Like my thumbs were on fire, responding to all the emails. Whoever was up last the night before or up first thing in the morning, I'd start responding to those like it was my mission, Steve. And I've learned over the years, and you'll definitely hear me discuss this morning, but I try to do no phone, no phone the first hour of the day and the last hour of the night before bed. So I start my day intentionally, and we'll get into that in the workshop. Well, we can go ahead and get going. We usually have people join as once we're started, but really appreciate you being here. I'm really glad that you're here. This is a really meaningful workshop. So this is the first time we've done this Epic Daily Ritual Workshop. If you've ever been, we do weekly workshops. If you've ever been to any of our other workshops, we do an aligned habits workshop, which we do fairly regularly. And we also do a focused and free distractions workshop, which is in large part about, reducing the distractions of, not just the phone and email and social media and texting, but also distractions of negative news, drugs, alcohol, the stuff that keeps us from living as our true self. Things that we've all struggled with, we've all dealt with, but that keep us from being truly focused. So we discussed that on the Focused and Free workshop. This is the first one we're doing of the Epic Daily Ritual. So I'm really excited about this. And I'm surprised we hadn't done this sooner because, as you'll see if you've followed any of my stuff or if you've used the True Self system, the habitually inspired, the habit tracker, is a big part of what I do and where I found great, productivity, peace, and presence as well. And a lot of that is in the daily ritual and the how you start your day and how you close your day really dictates how you're going to live for the rest of the day in between. That bookends, that first hour of the day and the last hour of the night, really it can change how you live your whole life. Because what you do between those first and last hours is where you make all your impact. But you set the tone by how you start an epic daily in morning and evening ritual. So we're going to get into that. Um, and today we're going to design something that's deeply personal. Your epic daily ritual. I mean, it's just simple morning and evening practices that help you start your day with purpose and end it with clarity. So wherever you are right now, you want to just take a deep, slow breath, just get fully present. And then we're going to take a minute and do some grounding, but just go ahead and start noticing your breath. And then we'll get into a grounding in a minute. But just know that this workshop is not about doing more. If you're thinking, I can't necessarily add more to my morning and my evening, I have too much going on. It's not about doing more. It's about creating space for those things in your life that make you feel like yourself, like your true self, the person that you are meant to be, so that you can live with more intention, clarity, and presence every day. So nothing here needs to be perfect. Nothing needs to be copied from anyone else. This is about you. So we're going to give you the tools and resources to really make your daily rituals, and we'll get into the difference between rituals and routines. So, we can all feel kind of out of sorts if we're out of our routine. I have 7 kids. We had 5 up until last week, and then we just adopted my goddaughter. So, like in the blink of an eye, I have 2 teenage girls that we didn't have before that. So we now have 7 kids, and it's crazy how life, happens like that. But there you go. My point in that is kids crave routine. When kids are home for the holidays or things are going on, during summer break, if they're not doing activities and things, they start bouncing off the walls. And it's not, that they're not always hyper. It's that kids crave routine and structure. And I've realized that particularly with like my most hyper kids, you have a lot of different personalities with 7 kids, but the ones that are the most hyper, like truly crave routine. And it made me realize over the years, like I crave routine too. When we're out of our routine, we feel out of sorts. But this is more we're going to cover routines because the routines are productive, but we're going to be covering ritual because ritual is sacred. And this is about creating time and space for you because it's so important to live as your true self. And you can't really do that when you wake up immediately, like you said, Steve, and look at the phone and, Chad, I think you mentioned it too, checking emails, text, social media. You got to start your day with intention, and we're going to teach you how to do that. So before we do that, though, join me in grounding. So, if you've seen some of my other workshops or any of the other things, you might know that I teach yin yoga and meditation. And, I only started, I did my yin yoga training for being a teacher about a year and a half ago. But I've only been meditating for about, I'd say, 7 years now. Um, and it's become such an integral part of my life. So this isn't necessarily a meditation, it's just a brief grounding. But, if you don't meditate or take time for yourself, I hope you'll start that practice, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later. But I want you to go ahead, if you're able to do so, sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes or bring your gaze down low if closing your eyes isn't comfortable for you. But just bring your gaze down low or close your eyes and put your hands in your lap or uh, on your thighs. If you're able to sit in a cross-legged position, that's great. And with your eyes closed or your gaze down low, try to breathe through your nose. And we're just going to do this for a minute or so. We're not getting ready to go into a deep, long meditation if you're not sure what's coming next. We're just going to take a few minutes to be fully present and notice our breath. So I want you to join me in taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding it at the top, and then sighing it out. So when you're ready, take a deep breath in through your nose, take little sips of air as much as you can, deep into your belly, hold it at the top, and then sigh it out. We're going to do 2 more of those. Deep breath in through your nose. Again, take as much air deep down into your belly as you can. Hold it. And then sigh it out. Just notice the air coming in and out through your nose. And let's take 1 more deep breath in through your nose. Take in as much air as you can. Little sips of air deep down into the bottom of your belly. Hold it at the top. And then let it all go. Letting everything go that hasn't been serving you. And then just return to your natural breath. Try to breathe through your nose with the air coming in and out through your nostrils. And you want to just try to focus on the breath, not any particular thoughts. Recurring thoughts come in. Just let them pass like clouds passing through the sky. Just noticing your breath. An inhale, followed by an exhale. Your breath is always there for you. We don't notice it, but when we do notice it, we're able to quiet the mind and open the heart. Just take a few more seconds, just focusing on the air coming in and out. Maybe just notice the air coming in through the base of your nostrils, or maybe that little space between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. Feel the air coming in and going out. All right, now that we've dropped in fully present here, begin to flutter your eyes a little bit and bring some presence. I know it's abbreviated, but I hope that you'll take that time for yourself to notice your breath. The best time to sit and focus on the breath in quiet meditation is first thing in the morning. So we'll certainly cover it here today, but if you can, Try to not grab the phone when you first wake up. Try to start the day breathing instead of reacting. You're able to set your intention for the day instead of letting other people distract your mind and set the intention for the day. So now we're going to get into, as we become fully present here, and now that we're grounded, try to not be distracted by text, notifications, and communications coming in. Just try to make this time for you. And we're going to start talking about now why rituals matter. And like I said a few minutes ago, there's a distinction. Most people already have routines, things that we do at certain times every single day. There's an ebb and flow to the day. We start our day, we start moving, whatever that routine is, whether that's, getting up and walking the dog or showering, getting ready, getting dressed, feeding yourself or feeding your kids, getting in the car, listening to the radio. There are all these routines that we do. But like I said, rituals are sacred. Maybe you wake up and you make coffee, or maybe you spend your lunch break scrolling social media. Maybe you listen to, same radio station. Not that they're not that that many of us listen to the radio, except every now and then, since we have Spotify and Apple Music and everything. But maybe you listen to the same radio station on the way home from work. But what I want you to understand is that routines are only repeated actions. They're also often made accidentally, meaning a product of our busy lives, rather than our own desire or intention. And those routines can be positive, negative, or just neutral, not really providing anything positive or negative, just a part of going through the motions. I have a quote, speaking of going through the motions, that I put in my book. It says, don't go through the motions at work, make your motions work. Be intentional. A routine is functional. A ritual is intentional. Rituals are sacred and they're meaningful. A ritual has meaning. It says, this time matters. It shows that you matter. You're saying to yourself, I matter. I'm not just going to get dragged through life. I'm not just going to, go into my day. A lot of times we wake up, it's like we hop into our day like we're hopping into an Uber. But that Uber driver is like looking at the phone and drunk and distracted, and you're just in the back seat. But you're not just along for the ride in your life. You are in charge. Your time matters. So that's why we want to talk about creating that time. You got to create that time to make each day sacred for you. Each day is your time, not just getting in, jumping in, and being distracted. The beginning and end of your day are powerful. The beginning and end of your day are powerful because they shape how you enter the world and how much you carry into tomorrow. When you enter the world each day, I love this quote. Gandhi said, I go to sleep each night, I die. And when I awake, I am reborn. You're reborn every single day. Every single day, God has given you 24 hours to do with as you see fit. So don't just get in and start your day distracted. And we're going to get into, morning rituals and evening rituals. I'm going to give you more information on those. But when your mornings are rushed, the day feels reactive. When you start by being dragged into the phone and responding to everyone else. And I know it's hard. I said I have 7 kids and my wife is a, constant texter and, is constantly on social platforms and trying to drag me into the negative news and social media, et cetera. And I say, no, I don't start my days. I started getting up at 5 a.m. so that I could carve out that time for myself and start my day with intention. And I was never a morning person. And we'll go into some of that in just a little bit. But, when your mornings are rushed, the day feels reactive. When evenings lack closure, your nervous system never really shuts off. And you carry your burdens with you into the next day. So it's really important to set the intention for the day, start off positively, and then close your day properly. We're going to get into that. So that's why we bookend the day with rituals and purpose. Morning. The morning is, grounding, clarify, align. The evening is to reflect, release, and prepare. This isn't self care as indulgence. This is self leadership. This is you leading your life. This is you taking ownership of your precious time and energy and setting yourself up for daily success. Not just setting one big goal, which, if you check out our True Self system, or, we just launched this True Self project where we go through goal setting. We do that in the Aligned Habits workshop as well. I think setting goals and setting habits to implement those goals are really important. But today we're talking about creating those rituals. Once you're able to live life aligned with these, epic morning and evening rituals, the in between, what you do during the day is going to be more aligned with your goals. You're going to actually achieve your goals if you're starting out the day right and closing the day right. Now, I want you to grab a pen and a piece of paper. At the beginning of the workshop, we said grab a pen and a piece of paper. And I want you to answer, I'm going to give you a few prompts, and then we're going to work on creating your epic morning and evening routines. But, what does a good day actually feel like to you? Write down, what are the first three things you do when you wake up? What are the first three things that you do when you wake up? I'll give you just, 30 seconds or so. And we always love sharing, as you saw, talking about how we start the day. If you want to share, you can put that in the chat. But I'll just give you, just take 30 seconds to a minute right now. What are the first things you do when you wake up? All right, so feel free to share. I've got mine in there. The first three things that I do. As soon as my feet hit the floor, I say to myself, it's going to be an amazing day. I don't know where I learned this practice, but I know I read it somewhere a few years ago, and I've been doing it, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. I've trained my brain to, no matter what chaos is going on in life, and trust me, there is a lot of it in my life right now. I still say to myself, it's going to be an amazing day, and I have trained myself to do that. So my brain actually thinks it's going to be an amazing day. And, miraculously, most of the time, I'm right. The next thing I do is I walk into the bathroom. And, I didn't add this, but, usually we all go into the bathroom for some morning relief. And then I go to the sink, I look myself in the mirror, and I say, I love you in the mirror. And that's a practice I learned from Dr. Wayne Dyer's The Power of Intention. And it's made huge amount of change in my life. I'm doing that probably 7 years now. And I wrote my first book, which is coming out later this year, called The Light in the Mirror. And it's, about that practice, as well as lots of other ones, a lot of the things we'll discuss today. And it makes such a huge difference saying, I love you in the mirror. And so you want to be able to do that. And then after that, I go back in, I sit on a cushion and I meditate. I start similar to the way that we started, taking a few deep breaths, and I meditate for about a half hour. And, we don't necessarily have to go deep into meditation, but we talked about it at our community happy hour last week. Always happy to offer some help and support on meditation. Meditation has had such a profound impact on my life. And, if you can, just take a few minutes to find your breath, to quiet your mind, and to open your heart. Chad, wash your face, make coffee, check messages. Very routine. I'd say add in some ritual, Chad. Um, those are going through the motions. Although when you wash your face, do you say, I love you in the mirror? I wonder. All right. Feel free to share if anyone else wants to share there. But, another question, that I have there is, what does a good day actually feel like to you? Take a minute and think. I drink my coffee and read my Bible and listen to God. Beautiful, Melinda. That's absolutely beautiful. I mean, that's what that time is for. Reflection. Getting in touch with yourself and your higher power before you do anything else. And I love how you say listen to God. Listening as opposed to, that's what I say. People sometimes say what's the difference between meditation and prayer. And there's not much difference. A lot of times I say, meditation is praying without asking God for anything. Just listening to yourself and your higher power. It's so important to listen and not, ask or beg for the things you need or want to make the life that you want. Instead, to listen and ask for direction from your higher power and your true self. So now, if you can, take a moment and just journal. Take just another minute. What does a good day actually feel like to you? What does a good day actually feel like to you? All right, take just another 30 seconds or so. Being in nature and walking the wood with just me, yeah, beautiful. I also love those walks and hikes in nature. We found a lot of times that's where we find stillness and quiet. I forget where it was when in one of our workshops, I think we talked about, what's um I guess we had asked people, where they feel the most like them true selves. And most people said, in nature when they're able to connect with nature. So thank you, Melinda. My best days are the ones, I guess it says, what does a good day actually feel like to me? I put my best days are the ones where I'm aligned with my habits and my goals, meaning I'm super focused on sticking to my epic morning and evening rituals. And I spend my days strictly working on, a big high level goal or project that means the most to me, meaning I'm not dragged into, lots of different things. I'm focused on what truly matters. And even when something does challenging does come up, I'm able to find stillness. Chad, good day feels like to you being creative and exploring new things, creative outlets, as well as, for people who are incredibly creative. For me, I'm not all that creative. I love inspiring people. For someone like Chad, being creative and finding outlets for that and creating new things is just incredible. And bringing those ideas to life is very powerful. And when we create our epic evening and morning rituals, we have a lot more good days. Again, because we're setting the intention. So let's go ahead and get into designing your epic morning ritual. And the purpose of rituals is to give yourself the space you need for living at your best, to live as your true self, to live your life of love, happiness, and bliss. The goal of the morning ritual is not productivity. We're not talking here about, how you can do more things or squeeze more stuff into your day. Instead, we're talking about how you can get rid of more things that distract you from your day and only let in what matters most. It's putting presence before input, being fully present in your life. I don't know if you ever heard of or read the book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. It's all about presence. It's all about being fully present in your life, noticing what's going on right in front of you. Most mornings begin with phones, news, messages, and other people's priorities. But that's not you. That is not your true self. None of that truly matters. It's just reacting to all these inputs. There's a great quote by Zig Ziglar who says, your input determines your output. Your output determines your outlook, and your outlook determines your future. What are you putting into your brain? I mean, all this stuff we're talking about today is all about what you put into your brain and how you train your brain to interact with your world and with the outside world. Think of your morning ritual as a way to say, I decide how this day begins. You're the one who decides. It is your life. I know it feels like, we're dragged into all these other people's lives. I mean, I got all these other people in my house, and I don't know if I'm a part of my life or theirs, but that's why I get up at 5 a.m. to meditate and journal. I meditated this morning. It was the first time I had a decent meditation in, like a week since, our two daughters arrived last week and they started school this week. And my wife was going back and forth as we're selling our old house. Um, so we've had a lot of upheaval. So I was off of my ritual, but I got a great meditation in this morning. I got up, at 5, I meditated, I journaled. And despite challenges, I decided how today began. The last few days when I wasn't on my ritual, I was only reacting to whatever I was getting up, just in time to get kids up and everyone ready for school and out the door. And I was reacting. But the best rituals, after you decide how your day begins, the best rituals are simple, repeatable, and grounded in your natural energy. We all have a natural state. Our natural state is not one of anxiety and stress and reactivity to the phone and text and social media and the negative news. We return to our natural state by aligning with our true self, by aligning with who you're meant to be. And that doesn't mean starting your day in a state of frenzy. Simple, repeatable, grounded in your natural energy, grounded in who you were meant to be. So today, we're going to start your day off right with two habits that you can do in the first 2 minutes you're awake and set you up for success each and every day. The first habit is, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, the first habit is as soon as your feet hit the floor, say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. I usually more say gonna, I guess because I was raised down in Memphis, Tennessee, even though I live in Vermont now. It's going to be an amazing day. Um, it's going to be an amazing day, or it's going to be an amazing day. I love this practice. Doing this, you're already in the right frame of mind before you even see yourself with love in the mirror. By expressing this, you're already grateful for the new day. You're ready to create what you intend to create, and you're excited to start your day with intention. You set the course for the day and made a better life for yourself before you've done anything else. This is powerful. You're now being proactive at the very first step of the day. As soon as your feet hit the floor, you know it's going to be an amazing day. So what's better, doing that or grabbing for the phone? Your eyes all blurry, trying to adjust as you're sitting there looking in and seeing whoever texted or, you know, WhatsApped you or signaled you or emailed you or text you or notify, like it's just all nonsense. Is it going to be an amazing day because you say to yourself it's going to be an amazing day, or is it going to be an amazing day because you look at your phone? I mean, which one you choose? Which one is going to be better? I love this quote by Wayne Dyer. I don't know, I don't think that's in here, but we have it in our Aligned Habits workshop. Wayne Dyer said, "Do you want to be the type of person that starts the day and says, 'Good morning, God,' or the type of person that says, 'Good God, morning?'" Again, you get to choose. As soon as your feet hit the floor, say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. For years, I was on the hamster wheel like a lot of folks, just going through the motions. But in 2018, I decided I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had a complete awakening. I decided to work on improving myself and growing again. And that's when I read the book I told you about a little while ago, The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer, who he recommends to look into a mirror, make eye contact with yourself, and say, I love you. He recommends to say that as many times as you can throughout the day. And, when I read that, I'm thinking, like, this sounds like nonsense, but okay, I'll try it. Sounds easy enough, right? But it feels a little awkward at first. Saying I love you in the mirror is harder than you might think. Now, I've always been a happy, loving person, but like many of us, I'm also very critical of myself. For years, I used to look in the mirror and I didn't see love. I saw disappointment. Even though I was, good husband and father and, you know, had a good job, running my clean energy company. Before that, I was an attorney. I always felt like I was not quite hitting my potential or I was doing something wrong. Like I would look in the mirror and think, stuff I have to do or things that weren't going right. But I kept doing it. And after a while, it doesn't feel so awkward. Saying I love you in the mirror starts to feel warm and heartfelt. I kept doing it and I started living in this constant state of love, happiness, and bliss. When you see the light and love in the mirror, it allows you to see light and love in everything and in everyone else. You get what you ask for in life. So stop asking for what you already have. You can start a new narrative. You can put love and happiness on a continual loop in your mind. You can start the day seeing love in the mirror. So, in order to do this, here are 4 absurdly easy steps to start living the life of your dreams. I told you it's absurdly easy. First, wake up. You already do that every day. Second, look yourself in the mirror. You probably do that already. Next, say, I love you in the mirror. Number 4, repeat. Do this every day, day after day, year after year. Look, you already do steps 1 and 2, just add 3 and 4. I know it's absurd. It is absurdly easy. All I'm doing is saying, look in the mirror and say, I love you. It is absolutely transformational. And this isn't an egocentric love. It's loving the light within you. It is loving the beautiful part of creation that you are. You're meant to live as your true self. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. It cuts out all of the noise and allows you to align with your true self. So if it's this simple, takes no more than a few seconds each morning, costs nothing, then you can start today. This can have such a huge impact on your happiness and sets the stage for a great day regardless of what happens. So let's get into, I hope you're able to start this practice, because once you see the light in the mirror, you'll see the light and love in everything and in everyone else. Like I said, even when situations are not quite what you want them to be, or you confront challenges each day, you're able to build from strength. You're able to build from love. When you're upset about something or annoyed with someone or things aren't going your way, like Dr. Martin Luther King said, hate can't, uh, darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. Say I love you in the mirror. It'll drive out the darkness. Now, here are the building blocks for starting your epic morning ritual. So we already talked about, the 2 most powerful things that you can do as soon as your feet hit the floor. Now, you don't need to do all of these, just a few of these that resonate most with you. The building blocks are stillness, awareness, intention, energy, and inspiration. These are the building blocks of your epic morning ritual. In stillness, breathing, silence, meditation. Awareness, journaling, an emotional check-in, as well as gratitude. If you haven't journaled before, journaling 3 things you're grateful for each day is a great way to start. I generally do that, as well as, journal whatever came up, usually in meditation. Intention. How do you want to show up today? Setting your intention for the day, sealing that in and starting your day with intention, your intention, not the intention of others, not the intention of this crazy world dragging you into the day. Remember the metaphor I used. You're not just starting your day by getting in, it's not like just getting into an Uber with a distracted, drunk Uber driver. You drive your life. Set your intention. Don't let others set it for you. Energy. Get some movement, get some hydration. Drink water. If you can, try to drink water or an herbal tea or something other than caffeine. Try to just wake up without needing a stimulant to get you going. Find your own energy by drinking water and taking some light movement, doing some stretching, doing some yoga. Inspiration. Find inspiration by reading or saying a mantra to yourself, or like I said, gratitude. Do three things you're grateful for each day. Now, let's go into it. I know you've heard me mention it a few times, and that is meditation. And making meditation a daily practice, particularly right after you wake up, sets your intention for the day and allows you to be the person you see at the center of your soul when you close your eyes. So, would you rather start your day by opening your eyes to read an email or by closing your eyes to see who you're meant to be and figure out how to live well? Like I said before, it doesn't matter whether it's, meditation or prayer or, I have a friend who calls it paddling. I said, why paddling? And he said, well, I just sit there quietly for, 30 to 45 minutes in the morning. And, it's like paddling in a canoe or a kayak when it's totally still on a lake. That's how he's paddling. He's trying to just, make his mind still like you would on a lake. If you want to really use the capacity of your brain to show you who you are, what you are capable of, and your connection to the universe, wake up and go within. Just close your eyes to see. So, meditation is just so incredibly powerful. It's that time that you're able to listen to yourself and your higher power. It has the dual purpose of clearing our minds. And once that space is cleared, making room for our true higher self to enter that space. The point is, you just want to coax your mind from its wandering. It says that in the Tao Te Ching. Can you coax your mind from its wandering? That's why we say focus on the breath. The reason we focus on the breath in meditation is that when you're focused on the breath, your brain is focusing on the act of breathing and the sensation of breathing. It's not focused on those distracting thoughts, on monkey mind, as we refer to it, all those things that enter our mind. It says, I read somewhere that we have roughly 60,000 thoughts per day. I have no idea who on earth is counting this or how they came up with it. But we have 60,000 thoughts per day. Our mind is in constant motion. But through meditation, you are able to be the observer of your thoughts. And that is where your soul rests, beyond your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You can create new neural pathways by how you think and how you train yourself to think. Years ago, I learned that silent and listen are the same letters arranged in different order. When we sit in silence, we can listen. You can listen to that still small voice from within you that you start to hear when you meditate and you see when you look in the mirror with love. Once you start to listen in prayer and meditation, that voice is not so small or so silent. Rather, it can be the guiding force in your life. A higher power or your higher self can be the guide that sets you on the right course each day. You want to listen to that guide by meditating each morning. You want to wake with intention and direction. Now, there's another reason that meditating first thing in the morning is also incredibly powerful. And that is that when you first wake up, your brain is in a different state. You're in the state uh, of the delta waves and the gamma waves, and that's before you get into the alpha waves of your active state each day. So if you meditate first thing in the morning, you're more easily able to tap into your subconscious, into your creative mind, so that you can create your day with intention, but also tap into resources that you have that you don't use. We only use a small percentage of your brain, but yet there's tons more that's available to you. And meditation allows you to tap into that. Now, I want to go into, as we're talking about epic morning ritual, I want to go a little bit into, and we'll cover just one or two more things relating to the epic morning ritual. The next one is journaling. So I don't know if you do this yet, but it's the practice of turning your thoughts into reality. So once you're done with meditating, just take 2 to 12 minutes more to write down what you thought about, prayed on, or saw in your mind's eye. Write about your challenges, hopes, dreams, and relationships. Write about the divine inspiration that you must act on. That thought that you received while meditating that you know is what you need for your life. And it's so important to do this right after meditation. Just get it out of your head, get it out of your mind and down on paper so you can take action. The practice of journaling allows your thoughts to become reality. So living as your true self, when you're still in meditation, you're able to realize clarity that you hadn't before. And clarity brings confidence, and confidence is contagious. But once you have that clarity in your mind's eye, don't wait. Write it down. Turn what you wrote down into action, because once you write it down, here's was my journal from this morning. Once you write it down, you can then take action to live the life of your dreams. The practice of journaling is incredibly, incredibly powerful. To bring your vision to life, write it down. We often take for granted writing, but there's a reason it's one of the first things you learn to do in school. Writing is an essential tool for processing your emotions, alleviating stress, and motivating you to take action. So meditation is the method for observing your thoughts, and journaling is how we come to understand and apply them, how we come to understand and apply our thoughts. Write down what you see when you meditate. It's your inner voice telling you what you need to do. Follow it. Don't ignore it. Capture it by writing it down. Once you've caught it and captured it on paper, you can then create you create concrete visions while meditating that direct you to take action that you know you need to take. But then writing it down, as you see more clearly, you write down what you're stressed about. Write down your thoughts that are on repeat that quiet down. Write down your visions you see for yourself. Write down the person that pops into your mind that you know you're meant to be. And once you're done meditating, just take a few minutes to write down what you noticed. Write down your challenges, your hopes, your dreams, your relationships. Write about the divine inspiration you got to act upon. Just get it out of your mind and down on paper. The practice of journaling allows your thoughts to become reality and plants them deeply within you. Bring your thoughts to life. You're turning your thoughts into action. You're turning them into reality. So the next thing I want to talk about, so we've talked about, how you set your intention for the day. As soon as your feet hit the floor, it's going to be an amazing day. Look in the mirror and say, I loved you. I love you. And then, if you can, meditate and journal or do one of those things that are the building blocks, finding stillness, awareness, intention, energy, and inspiration. But also, the next thing I want to talk about is getting into a flow state. Schedule a flow time that is 60 to 90 minutes. I'm not talking about 2, 3, 4 hours. I'm talking about taking 60 to 90 minutes of focused work on your top priority and try to do it early in the day. Block at least 60 to 90 minutes in your schedule early in your day to handle your biggest priority, but try to do it undistracted, not going back and forth and checking email, which is my big problem. and I'm constantly working on sticking to that block flow time. Not texting and then working a little bit and checking social media and then working a little bit. I'm talking about 60 to 90 minutes. Just focus for 1 hour. Do something that your future self would do to get you to your big goal. So if you attend one of our aligned habits workshops, we talk about a lot about setting big goals and then implementing habits to achieve those goals. But you don't want to delay taking this action for getting into a flow state first thing in the morning. Try to do it before noon because the rest of the day is smooth sailing if you've handled your top priority for 60 to 90 minutes first thing in the morning. You want to do the hardest thing first. I don't know if you've ever read great book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It means eat the frog first. You don't want to eat a frog, but you eat the hardest thing. You eat the grossest thing. You tackle the most challenging thing first. Handle your biggest priority first thing in the morning, before noon. If you get your biggest priorities done before noon, the rest of the day is smooth sailing and can be spent communicating with others and handling all the little minutia, all the little to-dos. But what we find is, we procrastinate doing that big thing because it's hard. So we end up doing all the little things. But the little things don't move the needle. They don't get us to our goals any faster. They slow us down. They're just distractions. We'll get to journaling in the evening in just a minute, but what you want to do is the night before, you set three big priorities. Your daily big three, as we call them, or rocks. What are your rocks for the day? Meaning, what rock do you have to push up the hill? Those are the most critical actions you must get done that day to move your dreams forward. It helps if your big three that you journaled the night before, and we're about to get into your epic evening ritual, if those are aligned with your big annual, quarterly, and monthly goals. So you don't want to just do menial tasks each day that keep you stuck on that hamster wheel we've talked about. You don't want to get sucked into other people's distractions. You want to take control of your life. Take big action to become who you're meant to be. If you just spend an hour to 90 minutes each morning before noon on your top priority, you'll be much further ahead than you've ever imagined. So here's some tips for building your epic morning ritual. First, consistency over perfection. You don't need to check every box every day. Meaning you don't have to do whatever your routine is. You don't have to do, or ritual rather. You don't have to, say I love you in the mirror, meditation, journaling, your rock. Just start small. You want consistency over perfection. The more you do, the faster you'll reconnect with your natural, joyful state. So, like I said, start small. If 5 a.m. feels like a stretch, start at 6. If journaling feels foreign, just write 3 things you're grateful for. The point is that progress is the goal. Next, you want to anchor to your why. You want to anchor to your purpose. This isn't about productivity for productivity's sake. As you can tell, these aren't productivity hacks. These are hacks for living as your true self, for living your best life. It's about living as your most joyful and most impactful true self, the person in the mirror you truly want to see. So if you struggle to define your purpose, we've also set out a great new course. We call it the True Self Project. It's a 30-day habit challenge, and it can help you get clear on your why, on who your true self is, what your purpose in life is. We have a ton of research on this, and we have a great way of finding your true self and aligning your goals with your habits to live life inspired, habitually inspired. So it's only $30. We made it so it's $1 a day. It's a 30-day habit challenge, and it's made to help you go deep on your purpose, your goals, and your habits. I actually think I may ask if we can put in We have a discount code for that. We'll come back to it. I'll talk to it about it later, but there is a discount code for the True Self Project. Maybe we can put a link in there. If you put in TSP 5 off, I think it's $5 discount, so it's only $25, but it's a great thing to do. The next thing is using strategic ignorance. Um, we go into strategic ignorance pretty deep um, on our distractions workshop, our focused and free distractions workshop. Um, and strategic ignorance is a concept of blocking out all the noise of negativity, news, and distractions. Choose what you feed your mind intentionally. Consume only positive content. You want to consume only positive content. I can talk about strategic ignorance, at length, but I love it. In speaking about consuming only positive content, strategic ignorance is the concept of not, doom scrolling and paying attention to the negative news, which I've been doing since almost 10 years now when I went cold turkey on the news. But there's a great quote by motivational speaker Prince at EA, who asked in his inspirational videos. He said, "If you had $1 million thoroughbred racehorse, would you give it cigarettes, alcohol, and junk food, and let it stay up late watching TV?" No, of course not. So why do we do this to ourselves, to our brains and our bodies? Feed your body and your brain only the healthiest food and content. You're worth far more than a horse who lives in a stall. You're worth far more than anything in the world. You are a human being who can do more than just run fast. You can create amazing things, and this world needs you to leave it better than when you first got here. The world needs you at your best, and we need you now. So, in this digital age, you have endless books, videos, and wisdom just a click away to get you on the fast track to your glorious future. You can consume massive amounts of inspiring content. Just do this instead of tuning into the news or to social media. Use strategic ignorance. You don't need to know everything that's going on in the world. And lastly, make it sacred. Treat this checklist like a sacred ritual, not a chore. It's your daily devotion to becoming your true self and is the fastest path to living the life of your dreams. So now we're going to move into building your morning ritual. So let's design your morning ritual. So on your paper, which I hope you have paper, we did say at the beginning, have pen, paper ready to go. I want you to write my morning ritual. And then I want you to write each of those things that you see there on the slide. First, how much time do I realistically have? Now keep in mind, you can create time. I'm not saying that you can create a 25th hour in the day, but you can create a new hour you didn't have before. Uh, I used to be a late nighter. You stay up late at night. I couldn't shut down, and I wasn't making time for exercise or meditation, journaling. I didn't used to do any of that. I would stay up late and get up late. So I would, run out of bed, get kids ready, out the door. It was all a mad dash. It was stressful for me and everyone else. I trained myself. I was never a morning person. I hated getting up in the morning, but I trained myself to get up at 5 a.m. to make that space. So how much time do you realistically have? Maybe it's 10 to 30 minutes, and that's okay. But I created a whole 2 hours in the morning that I used to not have. So you may think you don't have any time, but you can create extra time by shutting down earlier, not staying up late, binge watching Netflix. Get to sleep, get good sleep, get up earlier. So how much time do I realistically have? Next, how do I want to feel after this ritual? After your ritual, how do you want to feel? Next, which 3 to 5 practices support that feeling? Come up with some of your epic morning ritual routines. What are those things? 3 to 5 practices that support that feeling. So I'm going to give you, 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even up to 5 minutes to work on that. We may run a little bit over, but yeah, I'll give you like 3 minutes right now to journal those, write my morning ritual, and then answer each of those 3 questions. I'll meet back here in 3. All right, just about another minute or so thinking about your morning rituals. Okay, okay. Hopefully, I tried to give you a little bit more time just so that you could get that down, creating that epic morning ritual. If you want to include any of that in there, by all means, meaning if you want to put it in the chat, feel free to do so. Um, and a couple other things. I'll put these in here and then maybe take some time after to journal these. Just put down where this will happen. Where will this happen? Meaning your morning ritual, meaning setting up your environment is so critical for this. What is not allowed during this time? Think my phone. um, there are other things as well. I mean, for me, I try not to communicate with anyone other than myself for the first hour of the day. You can say, oh, that's so hard. Look, I know it's hard. I run two businesses. I have 7 kids and a wife. Um, like, I know it's hard. You feel like you need to, be communicating with everyone because that's your life. But what is not allowed during this time? I mean, I'm not saying you have to do what I do. We're going to share all of the, slides from today. You can go back through these, but, what is not allowed during this time? For me, communicating with anyone other than, myself for the first hour of the day. Yeah, I make time for it. I get up in the morning, but maybe that's even, 15 minutes right after breakfast. I'm not saying you have to get up at 5 a.m. I mean, it could be at 10 a.m. that you take 15 minutes to just close your eyes and focus on your breath. Or maybe you journal, or maybe you get some exercise or do something good for yourself. Just create a part of your ritual. And what is not allowed during that time? Write that down as well. And then you can journal those a little bit later. I want to make sure we're pretty close to time, so I don't want to give much extra time for that right now, but write those down. I should have said it at the beginning. I know I've said it a couple times. We will share the recording from today's workshop, as well as the resources, including our Epic Daily Ritual guidebook, which I don't know if you've received that yet, but if you haven't downloaded it from our True Self system, you will be able to download that as well. And then, one other thing you want to write down as well, and again, you can do this later or do it now, but my morning ritual exists to help me what? Finish that sentence. My morning ritual exists to help me. And for me, mine has helped me live as my true self, as well as so many other benefits, connect with God, find stillness, understand my thoughts, choose how I want to show up. My morning ritual exists to help me what? So you can write that down again. We'll provide it to you if you don't want to write it down. You don't have to scribble furiously. And you can write that down now if you want, what it exists to help you do what. But I'm going to go ahead and start talking about our epic evening ritual. We've talked a lot about the morning ritual. Your morning ritual is how you start your day with intention. Yeah, that's great, Melinda. And by all means, let me know if you want any resources. We always put it in here, but if you want any resources on meditation, you can always email me. It's ben@benparvey.com. Happy to help provide that as well. Yeah, and one other thing too, as we go into the True Self project, if you sign up with that, I also am offering a coaching session for folks who sign up for that. So we'll talk about that more later. But your morning ritual is how you start your day with intention. But starting your day right is only possible if you close your previous day strong, so that you're able to properly rest and unload your day. We'll get into that. So these two rituals are at the opposite end of your day. I love it how Chad had put it, bookends to the day, but they're completely linked together. Your PM ritual or your evening ritual can be anytime in the evening. I mean, there's a whole host of things that go into my evening ritual, but mine sort of starts as soon as I'm done with work, so that I'm dedicating the rest of my day to what matters most, to my true self and to my family. So what I'm really focused on here, though, is that last hour before you go to sleep. And we're going to talk some about sleep as well. But the time before we go to sleep is vital in getting proper rest. Like our bodies digest our dinner while we sleep, our minds digest what we fed them before bed as well. So if you go to bed worried, you'll get up worried. If you go to sleep angry, you'll carry that anger with you tomorrow too. If you go to bed absorbing horrible news stories or watching, you know, CSI and violence, you'll probably feel anxious and on edge in the morning. The opposite is also true. If you go to bed satisfied with your day, you'll wake up energized for what's ahead. If you journaled about, what you want tomorrow to be like, which we'll get into in just a minute, you'll awake with purpose and clarity. If you end your night with quality time with your family, you'll wake up with love and gratitude. Your PM routine, your evening routine is all about closure. Most people end their day the same way they started it, overstimulated, distracted, unfinished. Yeah. Speaking of distracted, the Netflix CEO, I got to find this. Give me a second. The Yeah, here we go. This is from a Netflix CEO actually said that their competition is not other media sources, but your sleep. So a Guardian News article from a couple years ago read, according to the company's chief executive, Reed Hastings, Netflix CEO, their biggest competitor is pesky human need to close your eyes and sleep for a third of the day. Asked about the company's competitors at Netflix earnings call, Hastings said that he isn't really concerned about Amazon and HBO because the market is just so vast. The Netflix CEO actually said, think about it. When you watch a show from Netflix and you get addicted to it, you stay up late at night. We're competing with sleep on the margin. And so it's a very large pool of time. That's what Netflix CEO said. We're competing with sleep. How shameful and yet not surprising. Your sleep, and I understand, there are all kinds of things that go into sleep. And, Melinda, you got problems sleeping 3 times a night, three, four, and five can happen. I get that, but there are a lot of things we can do to get more rested sleep. We want to get at least 7 hours, and we'll get into that some more in a little bit. We want to eat earlier, eliminate intoxicants like alcohol or weed or other drugs. Those things, even though it seems like they might help us sleep, actually give us unsettled sleep. Your evening ritual is not about fixing the day. It's not about cramming more in or numbing ourselves before bed. It's about closing strong. In finishing a race, we see sprinters give it their everything before, the last few seconds of a game. We see LeBron James or Lionel Messi or any of the greatest champions of the world. They give it their all right up until the clock ends. I'm not saying you got to work harder. I'm saying you just got to be fully present there for yourself, closing strong. Don't fizzle out at the end of the day. Just watching TV and scrolling the phone, that's fizzling out. Your PM routine, your PM ritual rather, is about leaving behind your burdens and carrying forward your wins. When you don't close mental loops, your mind keeps working on them all night. When you don't celebrate your day, you've lost the opportunity to maintain positive momentum tomorrow. The evening ritual says, today is complete. I'm ready for tomorrow. I can rest now. Like I gave you that Prince EA quote, about the racehorse. You wouldn't feed a racehorse cigarettes and alcohol and junk food and let it stay up late watching TV. Why would you do that to yourself? You're worth more than a racehorse. You have limitless potential. So the PM building blocks. Your building blocks in the evening are going to be for reflection. Um, Yeah, I just want to note that, Chad, that was good of you to put there. Taking magnesium before bed, it's really helped her. Totally. My wife has recommended that, even for my daughter who's 6, um, struggles with shutting down as well. Magnesium, in like a kid's gummy format. Obviously, they have it for adults as well. Thanks for that helpful tip, Chad. That's why, even though the recording's available and lots of people are going to watch the recording of this, being on the live workshops is so great because we can share information real time together, and collaborate together. That's why I love sharing in the chat or even coming on camera and unmuting. I love everyone to share. So here are your building blocks for your PM ritual: reflection, release, gratitude, preparation, and regulation. You want to reflect on your wins. You want to reflect on your lessons that you learned for the day. And when I cover PM journaling in a minute, I'll talk about, it's just a brief, it takes me, no more than a minute usually to reflect on your wins for the day, how you want to show up tomorrow, and your big 3 priorities for the next day. Release, meaning a brain dump, emotional processing. It's great to journal in the evening as well. Gratitude, what are you grateful for today? What happened today? That's where, you know, you can put your wins, but also what are you grateful for today? Preparation, light planning for tomorrow. I'm not talking about working more because you don't want to sit down and start working again, for the hour before you go to sleep. But I just look at my schedule and I write down, I'm looking over at my journal. I have a different journal called the best journal ever. I have my big 3 there. So that's my big 3 wins for the day, or more than 3, but how I want to show up tomorrow, and my big 3 for the next day, my big 3 priorities for the next day. That's the light planning. Regulation, again, breathing, calming practices. Um, I talked earlier about saying I love you in the mirror. I mean, another great way to close your day is closing by once you're in bed, again, focusing on your breath, placing your hands on your heart and saying, I love you. I call this my pledge of allegiance to myself. Again, it's not ego love. It's love for your soul. It's love for the higher power within you. There's no better way to close your day than returning to your breath and saying, I love you over and over, and falling into blissful sleep. Not watching Netflix and falling asleep with your remote control in your hand. A great way to fall asleep. Hands on heart, saying, I love you. Be present for the last hour of the day. And these PM ritual, let's just call this the last hour of the day. How do you close your day? Be present. At night, you want to make an effort to be fully present with yourself and those you love. This means trying to eliminate the distractions, especially the phone. I know I keep saying it, a weapon of mass distraction. I do not look at my phone for the last hour before I go to bed, other than maybe looking at my schedule when I journal my big 3 priorities for the next day. And I send those to my um, my accountability partner, which I'll share more about that. I know I discussed this some on some of the other workshops, but it's a great way. Kennedy Wind and Steel on YouTube. I guess that's incredibly Wind and Steel on YouTube. Thanks, Marianne, for sharing that. So yeah, you want to be fully present. As a society, we're just so distracted with all the apps, social media, text, works, emails, reminders, and notifications on our phones that we're getting very far removed from ourselves and our family. I know it's tough, but I guess I was gonna say I love this quote, but instead I gotta say I respect this quote. Your cell phone won't feel bad if you don't pay attention to it. It won't care if you haven't played with it in a while. It won't mind if you don't hold it. Your cell phone will be small forever. Your children will not. It's by Kim Uliana, who's a children's book author. For the sake of our loved ones, our children, our friends, pets, our partners, and ourselves, put down the phone, even for a few minutes, preferably for an hour before you go to bed or more. Try to be fully present. Life is passing us by while we spend countless hours on these stupid devices that we call smartphones. Again, best practice. Try not to use it for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. It allows you to disconnect from the distractions of the world and reconnect with yourself during the most important moments of your day. Feed your brain positive content before you sleep. Read a book, exercise, or listen to something inspiring. Your brain is processing what you consume as you fall asleep. So for the evening journal, like I said, three things. Just take a few minutes before you go to bed and write down three things in your journal: your wins from today, how you want to show up tomorrow, and your big three for tomorrow, meaning the big three things that you have to get done tomorrow to live your life on purpose, not in being distracted and doing whatever someone puts in front of you. What you need to do to live as your true self, to meet your goals so that you can, once you journal these, every single night, you then wake up clear and aligned. As soon as your feet hit the floor, you know which direction to go. You know what you have to do that day. You don't have to be distracted by everything else because you're clear. And these shouldn't be small little tasks that you'll get done. Your big three should be three things that will help you live as your true self and achieve your goals. By journaling before bed, you allow your brain to work on your priorities while you sleep. Thomas Edison said, never go to sleep without a demand of your subconscious. Why not let your brain work for you while you sleep? It takes less than 3 minutes each night before you head off to bed. Just take a few minutes to do this evening journal. And now, in talking about sleep, you want to get at least 7 hours of sleep. It's different for different people, but sleep is not a luxury, it's a foundation. You can't perform at your best when you're constantly running on fumes. Just like you won't skip meals and expect to thrive physically, you can't sacrifice sleep every night and expect to thrive mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I got to a point, I trained myself to get these 7 hours of sleep once I learned about this a few years ago. I would stay up till, 12, 12:31, 2, and then have to get up 6:37, get kids ready and out the door. And I was always behind. But by getting 7 hours of sleep, you get the proper reset that your body and your mind deserve. Not just deserve, that they need. During deep sleep, your brain clears out mental clutter. Your body repairs itself and your nervous system rebalances. Creativity, clarity, patience, and emotional regulation all depend on how well you sleep. So one other thing, in addition to the PM journal, is you might want to review their habit tracker. If you haven't downloaded our habit tracker, we will make that available with this recording from this workshop. But we also have it on our website under resources for the True Self system. It's your daily score. It's your habitually inspired habit tracker that we created is the foundation of your practice and a vital part of your evening ritual. This worksheet is where you align your habits to your goals and keep daily track of your consistency. Every day, make a check. Put just a check mark for each habit that you accomplished. At the end of each week, tally up the total. And some days aren't going to be as good as others. But at the end of each week, once you tally your daily scores from the week, you have a weekly score. And that way you can keep track. The goal here is to build lasting habits. So don't expect to be perfect. I've been tracking my habits for 6 years now, and I don't necessarily get to everything every day, but the days that I do, I'm at my best. And when I'm tracking them, I'm able to see how I progress through each month, and I'm able to compare month to month. I know different things are going on. I mentioned I have a ton going on right now, and I have not been as consistent as I hope, but today I got back to my routine. And when you have these rituals that are so profound, it becomes sacred time. I was so happy to have my sacred time meditating and journaling this morning. So now you want to build your PM journal. So I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes here. And similarly to what we did with your morning ritual, how much time do you want to have here? I usually do my evening ritual, again, no phone for the last hour or so, no TV, no screens, no digital media. But I usually take, it's 10, 15 minutes to do my evening journal, to shut down, but you only need 5. How do you want to feel going to bed? And what are 3 to 5 practices that support that feeling? And take just like 3 minutes to work on that now. All right. Um, just want to thank you for joining, Melinda. Appreciate it. And yeah, let me know if you need any support on evening rituals, and we will provide the recording so you will get that and be able to watch the rest of the course. Good luck at your doctor's appointment today. So, um, now that we've talked about our evening rituals, again, just put a couple of these. Now we're going to skip over to, what habits or behaviors do you need to stop at night? You know, what signals the end of my day? What is not allowed during this time? What are you going to keep from doing? What are you going to keep this time sacred by not allowing in other things? Again, phone, you know, binge watching movies or violence or the news. What's not allowed during this time? That could be people, that could be energy, it could be media. You know, keep to only the positive that inspires you or allows you to shut down. And you can write these down and work some more on them later. The purpose of the workshop is not just to get it all done now and have a solution, it's to think more about it and create what works best for you. And then one thing you also want to write down, like we did with the morning ritual, is my evening ritual exists to help me, and finish the sentence. My evening ritual exists to help me And since it's our first one, I don't know that I've fully thought through this either. I've never done this. My evening ritual exists to help me, I would say, shut down, celebrate my day, and go into the next day with excitement. Because I journal my big three my wins for the day, my big three priorities for the next day. I have so much clarity in my life by that simple practice that just takes about 5 minutes. So take time to do those. You can do it now or you can do it after, but we want to talk next about protecting the ritual without perfection. Like I said, this isn't going to be perfect. Life is not perfect. The biggest ritual killer we found isn't lack of time, it's all or nothing thinking. It's saying, hey, I don't have time to do, this, so I'm not going to do any of it. Some days you'll do the full ritual, but some days you won't. And that's normal. What matters is having a bare minimum version, the parts of your ritual that are sacred and non-negotiable. You want to make it sacred. So I want you to choose two or three aspects of your ritual that are most important to you. Choose two to three aspects of your ritual that are most important to you. And you want to create a boundary that protects that time. Remember, missing a day does not mean you failed. It just means you return. Or as I say in my meditation class or in my yoga class, I say, begin again. When those thoughts come back in, you just begin again. You return to your breath. Same thing here. You miss a day, you return to your ritual. It is your sacred ritual. That's the beauty of daily rituals. You get to impart meaning into every day. And when life feels overwhelming and chaotic, you can always look forward to the grounding and presence of your next ritual. Now, we're going to proceed to close. I know we're a few minutes over, and I appreciate those of you who are able to stick with us. But the ritual is not something that you do, it's something you become. My ritual has become so a part of me that I don't beat myself up, but I don't feel quite like my true self on those days when I haven't had that space for meditation and journaling and proper sleep and my evening ritual and my 90 minutes of flow on my top priority. When you get it all in on those days, you live more fully. You're creating sacred time not to escape your life, but to live it more fully, to live as your true self. I invite you to commit to this just as a 7-day experiment, not forever. Don't feel like you fail if you don't hit it. Just try it for a week, just 7 days. While building strong habits takes longer than a week, you'll see the benefits of these rituals on your life immediately. More restful sleep, alignment and clarity in your daily life, and a strong foundation to return to when the overwhelm of modern life creeps in. Now, just take a moment to close your eyes for one final breath. Just join me in taking another deep breath in and let it go. And just ask yourself, who do I become when I honor myself like this every day? You know, your epic daily ritual exists to help you what? We did it for our evening, we did it for our morning. I just want to thank you for showing up. Finish this sentence. My daily ritual exists to help me what? We've done it for the morning, we've done it to the evening. This is now a part of your daily ritual. This is about living your sacred life. So I just want to thank you for showing up for yourself. This is how true change actually begins, by taking the time to learn the tools that are going to help you thrive. So, if you've already done it, great. We're excited to have you come join us. Uh, Take a look at the True Self Project. I mentioned it earlier. Um, Absolutely love doing this True Self Project, and we're actually doing a free coaching session for those who sign up for it. So if you can sign up for the True Self Project, it's a great 30-day habit challenge, and it's absolutely transformative. We start with finding our purpose, going into setting our goals from big goals down to annual, quarterly, and monthly goals, and then aligning our habits with our goals. So go and check that out. Like I said, I put my email there. I'm happy to answer any questions for anyone and reach out to me. I'm also happy to do a free coaching session once you start the True Self Project if you want some advice and guidance. And always, join us for our Friday community meeting. So we have community happy hour tomorrow. Um, that's at 10 a.m. Eastern. We've gotten a few requests from folks. We might actually start moving that to a little bit later in the day, so maybe to 12 or 12:30. And join us on social media. You can check out our YouTube. You just search my name, Ben Parvey, on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're always posting new content. So come join us there. I want to welcome you to the Inspiration Nation community and join us tomorrow for the happy hour if you can. Like I said, love doing this. It's been a lot of fun. Marianne, who's here, has joined us for that. So if you can join us, and we also I think about moving that a little bit later due to the request of some folks. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here for the first Epic Daily Ritual Workshop, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right. I think we have next week on next Thursday, our workshop is going to be, let me just look up. Next Thursday's free workshop is going to be another Epic Daily Ritual Workshop. So if you feel like you wanted to get more from today, join us for that one. And look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to say I love you in the mirror and stay inspired. Bless you all. Thank you and have a great day.